the globalists have wanted to have some form of conflict with Russia as an argument for us all to surrender our national sovereignty and give it up to a higher global level. They've wanted it for years, and now they see their opportunity, and we must protect.
And Nigel Farage joins us for the next 10 minutes. You can follow him at Twitter, Nigel_Farage. I'm not going to go over his whole background because that would take the 10 minutes we have, but he's helped lead the populist movement, not just in the UK and Brexit, but in Europe. Now we have Viktor Orban with a huge landslide victory against Soros's reported $50 million+ put in. We see nationalism spreading, free market nationalism all over the world. And so a true modern Paul Revere, I mean, Magna Carta, whatever you want to call it, Nigel Farage joins us. I want to get into, obviously it was 5-6 years ago that England led the charge to not attack Syria, not that Assad's a good guy. Now we have a lady obviously in political trouble, May, the prime minister, wanting a war. But now Mattis has come out, Secretary of Defense today, and said there's no evidence the Russians did this. So, wow. And we're talking about potentially a wider war, a new world war, many analysts say. Nigel Farage, I know you've been speaking to this in your syndicated radio and TV program. What is the latest from the UK?
Well, remember that in 2013, it was in fact British public opinion that shifted our politicians, that stopped us getting involved in Syria. And don't forget, the object of the government at the time was to arm the rebels. Alex, if we'd done that, we'd have armed ISIS. It would have been mad. And actually, it was British public opinion affecting our politicians that stopped Obama and America from getting involved in this. So I'm a great believer, actually, with all these things. Trust Middle England, trust Middle America. They tend to get it right more than London or Washington, D.C. Now, Mrs. May does appear keen to get involved militarily. All I can tell her is be careful, because public opinion now against intervention is probably even stronger than it was 4 years ago. And there's one bit of good news, Alex. I think the president's tweets and Mattis's comments today, I think they've kind of rethought the stuff that was being said in D.C. yesterday morning. They're taking a break. They're having a pause. And you know something? Even if you prove to me conclusively that Assad had ordered that chemical attack on those civilians, which I kind of doubt because he's winning anyway, but that's by the by. Even if you prove that to me, what good would massive military strikes that could possibly topple him from the leadership, give us a massive vacuum, and let ISIS, who've just been beaten on the battlefield, back in? There is no argument, Alex, here for intervention.
What do you make of the Russian ambassador to the EU and the Russian ambassador to the UN saying the same rebels have been caught 3 times, even the UN says that's staging these provocations, and that elements of the deep state in the U.S., and I know that Trump's been fighting with the generals, some of them are on his side, some aren't, who are actually trying to reconstitute ISIS under a new name, and the Russians are saying, we wouldn't do this, we're pulling out, and they're pointing the finger towards the rebels, saying they staged a false flag.
Well, you know, I've no idea. You know, but let's put it like this. If it wasn't Assad that did it, you know, you can make arguments about the deep state doing it. But equally, don't forget that ISIS themselves a couple of years ago were on record for using chemical weapons no fewer than 52 times. ISIS could quite easily have done this, hoping the world would blame Assad and the Russians, particularly in the wake of the arguments that are still going on about the poisonings that took place in Salisbury, England. So the answer is we don't know. And look, come on, the biggest decision government ever makes is to get involved in an act of war. And you should not do it unless you've got a long-term strategy. Where Iraq went wrong and where Libya went wrong is we were short-term trying to get rid of leaders we didn't like without any thought for what came afterwards. We must not make that same mistake again.
Well, that's another thing with the Iraq war that I know that you were against the second one. I know Trump was against it. That's on record as real libertarians, as real nationalists. The neocons and others didn't think about what happens when you kick Saddam out. You get something even worse. Let's not forget it was the CIA that put Saddam in, and then you remove him, or we removed our allies in Egypt, and then something 50 times worse got in. I mean, it's just absurd to never think about the second and third and fourth moves that are going to happen. What's wrong with these elements, both in the left and right, that just love war?
Yeah, it's become the new let's show our people how strong we are. Let's distract their attention away from them to the extent to which we're removing their liberties and their freedoms. Let's show them what strong leaders are. Let's go to war. And we keep going to war. We keep getting it wrong. And Alex, you forgot to mention Libya a moment ago. You know, we got rid of Gaddafi. All right, you know, I wouldn't want to take Gaddafi home to meet my mum for tea.
Yeah.
But the fact is, with Gaddafi gone, ISIS is back. The flow of migrants across the Mediterranean have chiefly been coming from Libya. And did you know, Alex, there are now open slave markets back in Libya? Haven't we done well? So given this dreadful record of failure, let's just think, please.
Wow, it's just amazing. Hillary came, she saw Gaddafi died, and now we've got millions of people pouring across into Spain, into Italy, and the EU Navy they want to form wants to stop Italy and Spain from stopping these people from coming in. I mean, this is just completely insane, completely absurd. And you've talked about that. The bigger EU plan to collapse the Middle East and North Africa and flood Europe with Islamicist Orban's victory stands against that. You're a leading expert on this. Why is the left allied with radical Islam? Why are they trying to flood?
Because they hate Christianity. They can't, I mean, you know, they deny absolutely our Judeo-Christian culture, which if you think about it, actually are the roots completely of our nations and our civilization. They deny that. They also, don't forget, Alex, they want to abolish the nation state. They want to get rid of it. They want to replace it with the globalist project, and the European Union is the prototype for the new world order. Do you know, if Hillary had won that election last year, she was going to sign America up to get really close to this kind of thing. So, you know, we may sit here right now, Alex, and be a bit critical of Trump, but on many other things, he's got things right. And when you send a message, when Angela Merkel sends a message, as many of you as want to come can come, what do you think they're going to do?
Well, you're absolutely right. Nigel Farage is our guest here for just a few more minutes, and that's where I was going next, is Merkel famously on the stage with the Facebook head, Zuckerberg, saying, don't worry, we're going to censor anybody that criticizes the EU trying to pass laws. You've been part of the EU Parliament. That's just ceremonial. You've witnessed that. Now in the UK, they're arresting people that criticize Islam or say that there are two genders. They're trying to restrict free speech here. Don't we need in Europe and the UK and the US to really get on the offense and demand that free speech be exercised and be protected, because the left is trying to bully it out of existence? They filed 15 frivolous lawsuits on me now. Yeah, more came in today. The lawyers see it. They're total frauds. They're overturned as fast as they come in. But it's just they are so authoritarian. The left is so authoritarian.
Yes, the liberals actually are very illiberal. In fact, the liberals have become the very fascists that they try and criticize with their rhetoric. And look, what's really happening here? You know, don't underestimate how massive the seismic shock of 2016 was. The victory of Brexit, the victory of Trump. You know, we're winning. Look at Hungary the other day. We are winning, but it doesn't feel like we're winning because the left and the state are fighting back with all their might. And you know something? If we can resist this politically correct charge, this attempt to stop us thinking and speaking freely, if we can resist that, then our victory actually will be complete. So don't get down, everybody. Don't get depressed. They're behaving like this because we're beating them.
And let's remember, you're the guy when Trump thought 3 months before he was going to lose that came and privately cheered him up and cheered up the troops. And you were a critical catalyst in this, just as you were in Brexit. You're amazing. Thank you for joining us. I know you're very busy. But that's as the EU has said. They'll try to start a wider war to keep the EU. Don't you think that's what part of this attempt to start World War III is about in Syria?
I think, you know, the globalists have wanted to have some form of conflict with Russia as an argument for us all to surrender our national sovereignty and give it up to a higher global level. They've wanted it for years, and now they see their opportunity, and we must protect.
Thank you so much, Nigel Farage. You know, I think Nigel Farage is the best spoken person I know. He is the best spoken person out there. And whoever Tyler Durgan is over at Zero Hedge is just incredibly intelligent as well. And I'm not engaged in a butt-kissing operation here. It's just when you talk to somebody that is 100% on and knows everything you know and more, and who they've tried to kill at least 3 times. The EU police say, no, they've tried to kill Farage, confirmed repeatedly. His airplane crashed, almost killed the pilot, very suspicious, but that's a side issue. Where they confirmed it was taking the bolts off his car, the lug nuts, so that when he gets up to 60 miles an hour, the wheels come off. That's happened a couple times, you name it. His wife got him to quasi-retire back to brokerage firm stuff where he was very successful. And they tried to steal Brexit, so he came back out of retirement. And, you know, 3 times they've confirmed they tried to kill him. And there's other times they've tried to kill him as well. But 3 times in the news where police say foul play. And so I don't blame him wanting to retire. And it's not a thing of cowardice either. It's like he started UKIP 25 years ago and took it to, you know, dominance in the EU. But the European Union Parliament is elected but ceremonial. The permanent bureaucracy runs everything with Juncker, the grandson of the top Nazi. I mean, after Hitler, there was Juncker's grandfather and his dad, who was an officer. And that's what's so weird is like Soros is an old Nazi, and then Juncker runs the unelected EU and owns Luxembourg because the Nazis took it by force. And then I'm sitting there at the press conference Monday in D.C. about all these anti-free speech lawsuits filed against us, the likes of which our lawyers have never seen before. They're so unconstitutional and so ridiculous. And in come People for the American Way, Right Wing Watch, Media Matters, Think Progress, and all these anti-free speech groups. And I sit there and I go, you're funded by Soros. And they go, no, we're not. And you go to the Federal Elections Commission right there. And it says it all right there. #1 funder, George Soros. And they're always these snarky pinheads. And it's just like, what are people funded by a Nazi collaborator doing in my face? Is this a Twilight Zone episode? And then all these leftist law firms in New York and D.C. and Texas file lawsuits on us now on a weekly basis that are totally made up, but they put the defamation in the lawsuit so they can get away with it. So they're defaming me, trying to destroy me, trying to scare everybody off from InfoWars, as if they don't understand. Everybody sees us being demonized and attacked every night on Comedy Central, every week by Stephen Colbert on national television, by all the other channels. They'll just have, you'll be in a random movie, and the child molester's named Alex Jones. Another movie. The guy that's kidnapped kids and got them in the basement, named Alex Jones. And Homeland, the character's based on Alex Jones, and he doesn't like black people as a terrorist. And they'll just have random movies out there where you're sitting there watching, and you don't even know you're in the movie, and the guy goes, Alex Jones taught me to hate, bleep, bleep, bleep. I won't say it because they'll edit it. And that's why I don't like these different groups. And you're just like, oh, my God, they are really scared of me. And all I'm saying is they think you're really dumb. But see, leftists and people are all about selling out. Psychological studies show it. What is it, 6 times more likely not to give to charity, 9 times more likely to steal? Major liberal universities have done the studies. You can pull them up. Just type in, liberals are more stingy, liberals steal more. Because they just virtue signal. They're not liberals. They're liars. And they think that when they attack me, and they think when they lie about me that I'm all about what people are saying about me, like they are, and I'm all about money, and they don't get it, makes me fight harder. It makes me more focused. You can ask the crew around here. When I'm under attack, I'm like a laser beam. There's not a lot I don't miss. When I'm not really under a lot of attack, I kind of don't even want to do the show. They just don't get it, standing for something, having something inside yourself that doesn't care what everybody else says. It's called leadership. And I am a leader. And that's why they hate my guts. And I'm so honored that I'm not with all the cowardly, timid souls that crouch down and lick the hands that feed them. Let them forget that they were our brethren and our countrymen. Because I know not what course others may choose, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. You figured that out yet? It's Patrick Henry. The war has already begun. The globalists are already suppressing people all over the planet. They're incredibly evil. But thanks to people like Nigel Farage and Ron Paul and Donald Trump, we have a fighting chance. And, you know, I know what happened with Trump. Kind of from sources. And by that, I know what he did on DACA. I know what he did on the Second Amendment. I was told after the fact that I even figured it out, that people that had talked to him, so I haven't talked to him in a while, I was told exactly what would happen, and watch. Trump wants you to know that that's what's going on here. And you heard Ted Nugent on last week, and he said, well, you're not supposed to tip your hand, but I will. And that, you know, on the Second Amendment deal, he was never going to get rid of any of it. He wanted the Democrats to come out and say, okay, repeal it. And I sat there in Nugent's house when he told me Trump believes they're going to call for the repeal when he does this. Just like they did on DACA, they called for no borders at all. And I asked Nugent off air. He told me who told him that. The congressman that talked to Trump, and then another guy he talked to, and I'll leave it at that. Very close to the president. And then 3 weeks later, exactly what Nugent said happened. And so Trump had them all pressuring him and saying, you know, they're going to say you're a Russian agent if you don't bomb them, and the proof's going to come out and you're going to get in trouble and blah, blah, blah. And Trump said, I'll go ahead and put out some of this rhetoric for you and watch. The American people are going to hate my guts. You're wrong about this. So I'm going to go ahead and do this so the Russians flip out and you see how close we are to all this. So I don't have to strike them because they're going to strike back, and you know they didn't do it. You know the rebels that the globalists and McMaster are involved in it, and McMaster and all of them kept saying, we're going to still take Assad out, and Trump would say, no, you're not. That's the type of mutiny and the type of insanity and the type of garbage that's going on inside the government. I was told by folks in government while I was in D.C., high level, mid-level, low level, that there are still whole hiring freezes going on because the Democrats are all embedded and won't hire anybody and won't do anything. It's just absolute tyranny going on. We come back. I'm going to open the phones up, recap the World War III news. We're in the middle of the 34-hour special emergency broadcast, Stop World War with Russia. And we need you, whether you're listening on local radio, watching on TV, or watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, to get these live feeds and spread them to everybody like we did 5 years ago to stop a strike on Syria that could end the world.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
He goes to jail. He goes to jail. Lock him up.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
It is a big idea, a new world order, a world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order.
So that the problem of the Bush presidency will be the emergence of a new international order.
Within the next 4 years, we will see the emergence of a new international order.
The beginning of a new international order.
The pieces are in flux. Soon they will settle again. Before they do, let us reorder this world around us.
I think its task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't just a crisis.
It's about the future of Europe and a new world order.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
But today, with Asia already outproducing Europe, India and China are clearly becoming part of our new order.
We are now facing a common challenge. And the challenge is how to build a world order for the first time in history on a global basis.
So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, a new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
Good evening, everybody. President Obama and British Prime Minister Gordon today calling for a new world order to tackle our global economic crisis.
And the president outlined his vision of a new world order in which the U.S. would participate fully.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
So I see a world order in the future with a multipolar world order.
I think a new world order is emerging, and with it the foundations of a new and progressive era of international cooperation.
But in a globalized economy, we are going to have to take global responsibilities, and there is going to have to be some semblance of global governance.
Never before has a new world order had to be assembled from so many different perceptions or on so global a scale. Nor has any previous order had to combine the attributes of the historic balance of power system with global democratic opinion and the exploding technology of the contemporary period.
And I strongly believe India will be a central actor in the new world order.
There also exists an extraordinary opportunity to form for the first time in history a truly global society.
2009 is also the first year of global governance with the establishment of the G20 in the middle of the financial crisis. The climate conference in Copenhagen is another step towards the global management of our planet.
New World Order is the headline in the Globe and Mail in Canada.
Is this global governance at last? Is it one world, the central bankers in charge? But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do?
Of course we are. We are absolutely slaves to central banks.
Support good oral health with our one-of-a-kind Super Blue fluoride-free products. InfoWars Life brings you a revolutionary toothpaste blend with iodine and nano silver designed to deliver a powerful clean. Enjoy a minty fresh flavor made with peppermint oil or try our bubblegum flavor. Pair this groundbreaking toothpaste with the Super Blue fluoride-free mouthwash and supercharge your oral health. Our amazing mouthwash features natural oils and ancient ingredients used since Aboriginal and biblical times. Instead of containing fluoride, our Super Blue line is loaded with the good halogen iodine and an array of other beneficial compounds that have been hand-selected for their oral health benefits. Super Blue fluoride-free mouthwash and toothpaste are the first and only to contain all of these natural ingredients: xylitol, nano silver, and iodine. Notice the difference with our Super Blue fluoride-free products. Refresh your breath and invigorate your oral health routine at InfoWarsStore.com. That's InfoWarsStore.com.